you for taking the time to watch this video. This is an overview of our new router table for the wood shop. We got a new table, new fence, a new digital gauge, and a new lift. The old router is still here. It's a good router. The bearings are still good, and it's powerful enough, and it also is variable speed, so if we need to run a bit over an inch, we can slow it down like we're supposed to. So we didn't get a new router. I plan to make some other videos in some form or another to show you more details about the new features. So there'll be others for you to look at. The table in general is heavy, and it's got a very nice finish on it, and we hope to keep it that way. Try not to scratch it up with nails that are sticking through your wood or throwing tools on it and dinging it. Try to keep it nice. It's much easier to move the work along if it's a nice smooth surface. The table has a miter slot and it has a jig slot. Well, they call it a T-slot, where you can buy the stuff to make jigs that will clamp into this T-slot. There's a T-slot here, and there's a T-slot on the fence as well. So there's nothing too fancy about the table. It is very nicely made, however, and this ring, for example, is just below the surface of the table, and when you put the inserts in there, just match it just very nicely. So it's a good table. We have a fence. It's very similar to our current fence. These are more easily adjustable though. You don't need a tool. There's 3 knobs on the back, so you can slide these in and out to open your vacuum port. It has a vacuum port on the back, of course. It still has these knobs to lock it in place. And as every time I talk about these, I'm going to tell you, don't over tighten them. They will hold with just a mild tension like that. You will never budge it. You don't need to over tighten it. And I've seen guys in the past use wrenches or pliers, big pliers, on the one that we got in the shop before, and it just ruins it. It distorts the metal down here where it clamps, so don't do that. But anyway, the fence is a nice fence, and there's 2 rulers, one here and one there. They are adjustable. I'll get into the details of that when I go over it in more detail. And there's a scale up here, so if you have a jig that needs positioning, you can repeat your positioning very accurately here using the scale on the top. The vacuum system is a little different. There is actually a pickup under the table right below the router here, a 4-inch diameter pickup that I have rigged up some pipes to here, and then I put a Y in there and tied this into it also. So when we hook it up in the shop, we'll be pulling down through here and through here. We should get pretty good dust pickup from that. The Wixie gauge is a height gauge. Once you zero it, and I'm again going to make a video, show you how to do all that, but once you zero this thing, it'll tell you exactly how high above your 0 point your bit is. And it's very convenient to use. I've played with it in my shop here at home, and it really speeds up making adjustments. Wonderful. The lift is operated now from this wheel on the side, and it's got a nice lock on it. This, if I pull that lever up right there, it's locked. Now it won't turn. If I push it down, it's unlocked and turns easy, okay? I've got it set so that when you bring it all the way up, this is above well, it's as high as it'll go, and you'll encounter resistance when you're cranking it up. And when you feel that resistance, that's when you stop. So you're up all the way with the lift at that point, so you can change bits, okay? The way it works is if you go this way, you're screwing in, which like pushes this up. That's the way I think of it, okay? So when the top of the wheel is going away from you, this is going up. When you go the other way, and the top of the wheel is coming away from you, it's unscrewing and this goes down. Okay, we're going to hook up the same switches that we had before there, so the vacuum comes on automatically. It has to come on before you run the router, and that will mount right in here at this point when we get it back in the shop. So that's a general overview. I think it's going to be a very nice machine to use, and I anticipate the members are going to really enjoy working with it. Hello, it's me again. I'm going to show you the detail of the lift here. It's very basic. Take just a second, but I wanted to make it real clear. This is the locking lever, and of course this is the adjustment wheel. To lock it, you lift this lever up. It's now locked. And you just put it down. Turns. Okay. Now, to make the lift go up, you screw this in like it was a screw and you're pushing the thing up. That's one way to think about it. The other way to remember is the top of the wheel goes away from you. If you're standing over in front of the router table, top of the wheel will go away from you when you make it go up. And when you make it go up, you'll get to here and it gets hard to move. That's all the way up. I have adjusted it so that the router will not hit the underside of the table when the lift reaches the end of its travel. There's still a little clearance between the router and the bottom of the table, and that's the way we want it. However, it is up high enough so you can change the bits, which is what I'm going to show you in the next clip. So again, the lock, loose, counterclockwise, unscrews it this way, which would make it come down, and it goes down a long ways and up. When you get where you want to stop and you've got it adjusted, then you lock it. Now it stays there. Very simple lock. Unlock, raise it the rest of the way up because we're going to go and change the bit. I'll show you how to insert the bit and that kind of stuff. You can lock it or not. It doesn't drift much anyways. I don't think it drifts at all actually, but if you want to be sure, you just lift this to lock it and it stays there. So that's the lift. All right, this is the way you should find a router table when you come in the shop to use it. The person before you hopefully has left it in the proper condition. That is to say, the router is all the way up, the collet is empty, the fence is back out of the way, and it's clean. That's all there is to the ready condition. That's the way you want to find it. That's the way we want you to leave it. All right, so I'm going to show you how to change the bit. First, of course, you would select your bit. If the bit you select has a 1/4 inch shank, like this one, it'll fit the 1/4 inch collet. If you pick a bit that's got a 1/2 inch diameter shank, you're going to need to change the collet and put this 1/2 inch collet in its place. The collets are the same except for the size of the hole. Same wrenches fit, same threads go on the spindle of the router. So you would take off the 1/4 and put on the 1/2. That easy, okay? That's all there is to it. So we're going back to the 1/4 because that's the bit that I've selected to demonstrate. And it would be sitting there something like this, and it should be loose. So you just check that it's loose. Then take yourself a rag or a pair of gloves. Not a pair of pliers on the cutter, but something to protect your hand. And stick it in there. And leave about 3/16 or 1/4 inch between the very top of the collet and the very bottom of the cutting edge. That's so if you do end up trying to use the whole length of this cutting edge in your work, or even go a little bit below it, your work still won't rub the top of the collet. So leave a little space there. 3/16 or 1/4 inch is typically good. Don't leave too much because then you're not getting all of the engagement you need in the collet. So then we just finger tighten that, and then we use our wrenches to finish tightening it. And I've got us a new offset wrench, and the one I bent a couple years ago, worked for a while, a couple years, but gave up the ghost. So we have this new commercial one. So, and then the straight one. Okay, this one goes on the router nut on here at the bottom, and this one goes on the collet nut at the top. So, when you're tightening the collet nut, it is a right-hand thread, normal right-hand thread. So if you put the collet wrench in your right hand, you'll be ready to tighten. And that, of course, means the other wrench must go in your left hand since you don't have any other hands. So put them about 180 degrees apart and just pull them together. That's tight enough. It does not have to be as tight as you can get it. Yeah, I could put these back on there, and if I really lean down on it, I could probably get another 1/8 of a turn out of that. Well, maybe not that much, 1/10 of a turn, fraction of a turn. And then when it came time to take it off, I'd be very unhappy that I had made it so tight because it would be hard to get off. So don't do that. It's got a hold of it the way it is. Just tighten it. Tight is tight. That's all you need. Then you're going to put your insert ring in, but you can't yet because sometimes the insert ring hole is smaller than the collet, so that won't work. Okay, so the best practice is after you put the bit in, the first thing you do is go back to the lift, check that it's unlocked, and lower the router until the collet is well below the top of the table. Then take your insert, put it here in contact, and keep these holes horizontal, parallel with the slot of the miter slot, but horizontal, either that way or that way, doesn't matter. And then if you just set this on the edge right there and they're horizontal and you drop it, it drops right in. Okay, then you take your wrench, or if you don't have it horizontal, it's not going to drop in because the locking parts are going to be on top of each other and it won't drop in. So make it horizontal, put the tool on there. This is left hand. It's the only left hand thread on the whole machine. The insert is left hand thread. So to tighten it, you got to turn it counterclockwise. Use the tool, snug it up, and then give it a couple taps like that. It's in there. It's not coming loose. Okay? It won't vibrate loose either. It's got, well, it's deforming the plastic, the threads, you know, the locking mechanism. So it's tight, it's snug, it's going to stay there. So now we got it together and we're ready to do our work. So then we would do whatever we needed to do. Raise, lower, move the fence, do all the cutting, whatever. Fine. So now let's say you're done. Okay, now you got to get it back to the ready condition, or you put in a different bit for some more cuts, but whatever, you got to take this one out. First thing you do is not to raise the router way up, because if the router collet is bigger than the hole in your insert and you try to crank it all the way up, you're going to hit the insert and you're either going to break the insert or put undue stress on our new lift, and we don't want to do either one of those things. So the first thing you should do is return these holes to the horizontal with the tool, and then with the tool you can just lean it back, lift it the back edge, and take it out. Now we can go to the lift, check that it's unlocked, crank it up till I feel resistance, right there, and now I'm ready to use my wrenches and loosen it up. Now, we had the wrench in our right hand because it was a right hand thread when we wanted to tighten it, so we reverse when we're going to loosen it. So it's left loosey, right tighty. Okay, and I just get them about 180 apart so I'm comfortable, and I pull till they break loose. If you get your hands too close together when you start, when they break loose, you're likely to pinch your fingers. So 180, a little less apart, pull till they release. Fine. Check it's loose. Take your cloth, pull it out, and we're done. We've got this in the ready condition. We put the fence back out of the way. We clean it all up, and it's all ready for the next person, and we can go home and feel good about it. Or we can put in another bit and see if we can do some more damage. So that's the way you change the bit. Just a few simple tips, and shouldn't have any trouble with it.